guys, thank you so much for having me today. It's really a pleasure to speak to you for your Meet-a-Wee education-themed week. So I want to talk to you a little about a personal connection to what it means, education means to someone on the other side of the world and children who don't get the chance for education. Because you guys have heard the statistics. You've heard that there are 200 million kids in the world who don't get to go to school. And I heard those too, and like I get it. It's like none of us would say, you know, I don't think kids should get to go to school. We're all good people. I know maybe some of you would be funny and say no to that, but I believe that you would. But when you hear 200 million kids, it's hard to fathom. That's a big number. But when you have an experience with just one of them, that can mean a whole world to you. So I want to tell you a little bit about an experience that I had with a specific boy in a very small village in India that changed the way I thought about helping people around the world and changed the way I thought about education. So it was in a small place called Mount Abu, and we had gone into the markets to buy scarves and journals. And this experience that, with the intention of gifts for our friends and family, very quickly turned into one of the most intense moments of my life, because there was a reality in the markets of India called street kids, which is a very strange idea, but are kids who don't go to school because they spend their days in markets asking for money when they aren't working in carpet factories or a part of the child sex trade or whatever it is that we hear about these numbers. It is these people. So kids would come up to us and they would ask us for money. They would put their hands to their lips and put their hands in the air, and they would ask us for spare change, but we were not to give it to them because we are a hand up in these countries, not a handout. And once you start giving little pocket change, it creates animosity amongst these kids, and it doesn't really do something for them that is sustainable. But as much as I understand that, saying no to a 7-year-old boy or a 10-year-old girl who's asking you for money for food is a very hard thing to do. So what I would do is I would get down to my knees and I would say, "Aapka naam hai," which means, "What's your name?" in Hindi. And they would tell me their names, and there would be a group of them, and then I would get their names wrong. I would call the boys the girls, and I would call the girls the boys, and they would laugh, and then I would laugh. And then usually that was the end of our interaction, and I could feel good about the fact that I gave them something, even if it wasn't a rupee. So one particular time when this happened, there was a boy whose name was Praveen, who after we had this interaction that I had had a couple times, continued to walk with me through the markets, and he started tugging at my pant leg, and I looked down at him and he looked away and giggled. And then I kept walking and he kept walking beside me, and I looked down at him and he looked away and giggled again. And then this boy started showing me how he could count to 10. And now this was he was so proud of himself for being able to do this. It showed that little bit of education that he had, that he could count to 10. So I kept walking through them, and we'd run through the markets, and then we'd slow down, and we'd run, and we'd laugh. And then finally, we started getting back to the bus, where I realized I was going to get on this tour bus, go back to where we were staying, and I was going to leave this boy behind. Which was, as you can imagine, rather hard. So as we got back to the bus, I asked our bus driver, I said, "Can you just please tell him I'll remember him?" And the bus driver told me, "Don't worry about it. He's just a beggar. Get on the bus, I'll turn on the air conditioning." And I didn't really know how to feel about that. Because in my world, in our world, no one's really just anything. Like, think about what you were at 7 years old. There was a whole world built around you. You were going to school. People told you over and over, if you put your mind to it, you can be anything you want. Right? This boy is not being told that. This boy is being told that you are just a beggar. You will never be more than just a beggar. I think that is wrong. And that in a just world, no one should be just anything. So it's with education that we can change that. It's with education that we can make that one boy, who is one whole world, even if it's one of 200 million, but changing the world for that one person is still changing the world. And every one of you completely has the capabilities to do that, as you have been shown over and over again. So, with this intense experience, like with lots of intense experiences, as a lot of you are artists, you know when something inspires you, you create art out of it. What I do is I write songs about it, so I was wondering if it was okay if I maybe played you one of those songs.